Good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and DLive. My name is Tom Luongo. It is Friday. It is October 18th. It is 2019. And man, do we have a lot to talk about. See, tonight I was going to talk about Brexit because we have a Brexit deal. We've got the big historic vote in the House of Commons tomorrow. Millions of people's lives are at stake and everything else. But dude, Tulsi Gabbard just killed it. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Gabbard and her attack on Hillary Clinton. We'll probably get to Brexit at some point. And we'll do some other things as well, I'm sure. So for the next hour or so, plus or minus 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so, we've got a lot to talk about. And I'm going to talk about those things like I normally do over at my blog over at tomluongo.me, which I populate every couple of days. I also write for both strategicculture.org and moneyandmarkets.com. My article there this morning on Brexit hit this morning. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728, and you can also support my work over at Patreon, where you can sign up for the Gold Goats and Guns monthly newsletter, the latest issue of which came out today, a couple days late, but hey, it is what it is. Where I take all of this stuff, all that we talk about, and every bit of it, and try and wrap it up into some kind of coherent investment thesis for the layman investor. So that being said, and I can also now finally publicly announce that I will be taking over. No, I can't say that yet. Oh, I can't. Never mind. Can't say that yet. So forget I said anything. I didn't say anything. All right. So that being said, and so you can also donate if you don't want to sign up. That's fine. If you don't like Patreon, because Patreon is what it is. Got it. There are links down below to donate to the stream, either via installing the Brave browser, where you can browse in private, earn some crypto along the way, and then donate that to your favorite content creators here on YouTube or on their website or on Twitter or Twitch or Vimeo. Brave has really opened up their options at this point. It's very, very interesting what's happening there. So if you like a tweet from somebody, you can give them a small tip. It's a great thing. It's a great way to starve the Google beast, as it were. So remember, this is a not monetized channel, not because Google has said I'm not allowed to be monetized, because I refuse to be part of Google's process. So hey, if I'm not monetized, they don't have anything they can take away from me. Therefore, links down below. Do the thing. Please like, subscribe, bang the notification bell if you're not already doing so. We do this every Friday night at 8:30 and Monday nights at 8 p.m., along with ad hoc ones during the week, though those are few and far between given the craziness of my current writing schedule. So, that being said, let's get started. Tulsi Gabbard. So, I was going to talk about Brexit, got to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. So what did she do this week? Aside from showing up at the debate on, Monday or Tuesday night, doesn't really matter, where she said she was going to boycott it because it's a ridiculously staged affair that's not even worth her attending, because why would she? She's not going to get enough time to matter, yada, yada, yada. Then the New York Times, at Hillary Clinton's behest, obviously, puts out a hit piece on her. CNN calls her a Russian stooge and everything else. So she shows up at the debate and she calls them both out on national television, which is exactly what she should have done. I didn't really agree with her strategy about not showing up to the debate. When they want to give you free media in front of a national audience that can then be used by your fans and your voters and your donors as fodder on YouTube, Instagram, Periscope, this, that, everything else, you do so. One thing I learned in doing practical politics 15 years ago was that you do the free media, because the free media is free. They're expending energy on you. You don't have to go rent the hall. You don't have to do, all you have to do is show up and look presentable. In my case, barely presentable. In Tulsi Gabbard's case, far more than just presentable. So what you've got here is a very interesting situation. So she does that on Tuesday, and then this goes on and on and on. And then for the rest of the week, That simmers until today, when Hillary Clinton does a podcast with a Clinton, with an Obamaite, and obviously another Clintonista. I can't remember the guy's name, but was a monkey muck in Obama's former press secretary or whatever, on his podcast, was talking about how, there's obviously, we have one candidate who is currently a Russian stooge, and then we have another one who's, and then we have, of course, Jill Stein, who we know used to work for the Russians. The Russians are absolutely involved in 2020 because they were involved in 2016, and they were so successful. Why wouldn't they do it again? Of course, this is all Bill Browder like. These are accusations with literally zero data or corroborative evidence or anything behind them. They're just literal out and out friggin' Alinsky like smears. That's all they are. So Clinton starts that, knowing full well, because I'm going to give you the counter narrative to. I've already heard this already from people. I've already heard from a couple of people who think, oh, well, Amazing Polly thinks this is just a setup, and all the really, really black-pilled people, you're nuts. She's not a stalking horse for the establishment. If she was a stalking horse for the establishment, they wouldn't be trying to marginalize her. It's very simple. It's like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a secret deep state asset. He's not perfect, but he's not a secret deep state asset because they want control of his government. They don't want him in control of the government. If the deep state was happy with Donald Trump in charge, they wouldn't be trying to impeach him for doing what? Unraveling 70 years of liberal and neocon interventionist foreign policy. Same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. She's hitting the third rail of American politics. Social Security in the 70s and the 80s was always the third rail of American politics. You never talked about it. We're always going to take care of Social Security, so you can't screw with people's retirement, right? Well, no. The reality is that foreign policy orthodoxy is the third rail of American politics. You're not allowed to deviate from it. And yet, every time someone comes out, stands up on the national stage and says, our interventionist foreign policy is shit and needs to be revised. We need to stop inviting wars around the world and starting wars around the world. That person shoots up in the polls and then they have to be squashed. Gary Hart in 1980, Ron Paul in 2008, Donald Trump in 2016, Tulsi Gabbard in 2020. So that's where we are. So Gabbard, after Clinton organizes the media machine, she comes out and officially calls Tulsi a Putin puppet and all of this crap. Gabbard comes out and says the following. I'm going to read the tweets because they're just that good. Tulsi Gabbard, great, thank you, at Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption and the personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long. That is absolutely true. Have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there has been a concerted campaign, to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know. It was always you, through your proxies and powerful allies in the corporate media and the war machine, afraid of the threat I pose. It is clear now that this primary is between you and me. Don't be cowardly, hide behind your proxies. Join the race directly. It's been pretty clear that Hillary's been angling for weeks now that she's going to join the campaign. I said a long time ago, and then I got away from it for a bit. When the Clintons were first going on their speaking tour, I said, oh, Hillary's going to come in and she's going to try and do the white knight thing at the end because all these people are uniquely terrible. In their own specific ways, they're all uniquely terrible. And at the end of the day, she's going to come in. And then the Clinton speaking tour, the whole thing where they were renting out halls and trying to raise $5 million a pop, they couldn't get 50 people to show up. I'm like, well, she's done. She can't raise any money. And then I was on Jeff Rensick about a month and a half ago or so, and he's like, no, Tom, she's coming back. The Wicked Witch of the West is coming back. She's going to join the race sometime in November. She's going to come in and save the Democratic Party from itself. Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, these people can't beat Trump. And Kamala Harris, they're never going to beat Trump. Kamala Harris, the camel toe. Like, she's going to come back. I'm like, I don't know. And then things started happening on the investigation front. Ukraine, pulling out in Syria, the lack of going to war with Iran in June, and all of a sudden everything started to snowball where the foreign policy orthodoxy was putting on the heat against Trump. Know where that's coming from. Hillary's dirty in all of this stuff. She's dirty at every level. She's implicated in everything across the Middle East, all of Syria, Ukraine, everything. So therefore, the best way for her to be able to re-enter the race, and this is probably what all this impeachment talk is about, is to try and get Trump to back down on attacking a political opponent like Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden's really the front runner. No, he's not. Joe Biden's never been the front runner. That's a fabrication of the polls. The point here is to try and make it look like Trump is attacking his political rival, so that you can then make the argument that, well, no, you can never go after a political rival while they're running for president or while they're running against you, because that's just beyond the pale. That's obviously, we're in the Nixon territory and we can't do that. So that's the narrative that they've been prepping here. And I think that's actually why they've been pushing this impeachment thing at the time that they have, the way they have. Because if they can get Trump impeached, well, then great. Then they can have Hillary come in and run against Mike Pence and everything that I've been saying for the last few weeks since the coup attempt began. And failing that, if they don't get impeachment to go through, well, it's okay at the end of the day, because, so what? Now they've established the rules of engagement for this campaign, because Hillary fundamentally believes that she lost because she was unfairly treated during the last campaign, and that if all that stuff hadn't happened, she would have won in a walk and she'd have beaten Trump. And I think she still believes that fundamentally. She's probably right about that, but it's 4 years on. She's guilty, and no one likes her. And Tulsi Gabbard just called her out. That this is what's happening. This is the plan. Gabbard knows what's going on. She knows what the plan is. She was there in 2016 when they stole the nomination away from Bernie Sanders. She quit the DNC over this. Everybody can see this coming. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. The whole impeachment / trying to get rid of Trump, that's what this is about. So that's the narrative, and that's been being prepped, and Gabbard is not part of it. Gabbard just fucking took a giant dump on it. Put it in a bag, lit it on fire, and left it outside of Hillary's front door, for fuck's sake. And Hillary's freaking wheelchair bound. She can't even get out of her fucking chair to go and pick it up. It's like, I could take the metaphor one step further. She just picked up Hillary's colostomy bag, took a giant dump on it, stuffed it in a bag, ripped it off of her, stuffed it in a giant bag, and said, hey, bitch, try and get it back. No, you got to shit in your own fucking wheelchair because you can't even get out of bed. You can't even get out of a chair anymore. Has anybody seen Hillary stand up in the last year and a half? Everything about her has been stage managed for the last year. We only ever see her sitting down, uncomfortably, really big around the middle. She goes and does events, and she's sitting down. All of her aides are standing up around her, but she's sitting down. The woman can't fucking stand, and we're worried about Joe Biden's health. We're worried about Trump's health because he drinks, 6 Diet Cokes a day. The guy's Scottish. He's going to live forever. He's Scottish and he's full of bile. That guy's going to live forever. Are you kidding? He doesn't drink. I mean, give me a break. So, it's insane. It's so very obvious that Gabbard is an uncontrolled force within the DNC. Okay? Bernie was bought off. Can Gabbard be bought off? Probably. But at this point, she's got nothing to lose. First rule in politics, guys, you never attack down. If Hillary Clinton's the front runner by proxy, or the front runner in waiting, who's going to be ushered in, is going to be wheeled onto the floor for us to have to stomach for a third fucking time. if she's the front runner in waiting, she doesn't attack Tulsi Gabbard unless Tulsi Gabbard is actually the front runner and no one wants to admit it. I've been arguing with some people behind the scenes, and people have been emailing me back and forth about the potential for Gabbard that the DNC's slate is clearing, the path is clearing for Gabbard to take the nomination. I'm like, no, the DNC is never going to let Gabbard have the nomination. And that's probably true. So what they're really worried about is Gabbard getting fucked out of the nomination, running third party, or running as an independent, and splitting the vote, and then allowing Trump to walk to victory. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're worried about. Because it's very possible that it could happen. But what Gabbard is doing is calling out everything that's wrong with the DNC now, before the primaries start, so they can't play this fucking superdelegate game. They can't play the shenanigans behind the scenes. They call Hillary out immediately and call her out for who she is. This is good. This is a very good thing. It's a very strategic thing. Moreover, she wrapped herself in the mantle of the front runner. This is a woman who's supposedly only polling 2% around the nation. But is she really? And at this point, do national polls even fucking matter? No, they don't actually matter. Why? Because the primaries are run state by state. What matters is New Hampshire and Iowa and whoever else is early. I don't remember. I don't really care. Iowa and New Hampshire. That's all that matters. And by the time those primaries come around, Gabbard's going to be in the top 2 in the conversation. As a matter of fact, I would bet you that everybody knows that Gabbard is in the top 3 already in New Hampshire, if not the top 2. The polls won't actually show this because the polls are all bought and paid for. They're all push polls. They're all about gaslighting, especially at this point in time. And when Gabbard upside surprises at New Hampshire or in Iowa, and all of a sudden she's like winning Iowa, and she comes out and she wins Iowa, everything changes. Hillary can't have that. So Hillary is trying to stop Gabbard now. And what's the first fucking rule in politics? If Hillary's the front runner, why is she attacking down? Because the first rule in politics is you never attack down. Because the front runner has everything to lose, and the person below them has everything to gain. There's no upside in attacking down. You make your position clear. You tout your positives. You never point out the other guy's negatives. It's the challenger who points out the front runner's negatives. This is basic political campaigning 101. If you don't get this fucking point, stop talking about politics. Okay, I'm dead serious. And stop listening to people who don't understand this very basic point. I'm not 20 minutes after I retweet this, I get something from I get a reply from somebody. Oh, I'm with Amazing Polly and some other jackass who thinks that this is all a setup. I'm like, put down the fucking Q-tard for Christ's sake. Q comes out and says immediately, oh, don't pay no attention to Gabbard. Fuck that. Q's probably owned by Hillary at this point. That's how scared they are of everything. They want this badly. And they will not allow another glitch in the matrix to be elected president, or to run against another, or have another glitch in the matrix run against a different glitch, the existing glitch in the matrix. They're not going to allow that to happen. Period. We could talk about Brexit tonight and how Boris Johnson stage managed things to get Brino and still hold on to, and still have the Tories hold on to power and stave off Nigel Farage. That's what do you think Boris Johnson just did? That's what's going on. Okay, that's the breakdown in like 30 seconds of the quote unquote breakthrough Brexit deal. Yeah, it's better than Theresa May's deal, but so as Nigel Farage says, it's only the second worst deal in human history. Great. It's all a big shit sandwich, and we all have to take a bite, right? Okay, so this is the way it is. Your vote doesn't matter. Democracy doesn't matter. What matters is the agenda and the desires of the soulless and the vindictive who think they run the fucking world. That is what matters, and nothing else matters to these people. They are soulless, vindictive, power-mad ideologues. They live in their own personal hells. They have no moral compass. They have no moral center. They have no ethical standard. Everybody is a tool to be used and then thrown away. That's who they are. Because they have nothing else. Because they're empty, dead, and cold inside. They're vile, evil, vindictive people, and we should not spend a minute giving them aid, comfort, or even the benefit of the doubt. And the whole goal of all of this fucking gaslighting is to make you doubt the people who are around you, who are trying to tell you the truth. This is why Lee Stranahan is always the first time, anytime Lee actually breaks through into the public consciousness at all on Twitter, he is bombarded with a bunch of people who say, "Oh, you work for the Russians, you don't matter." It's like it's all this genetic fallacy crap. It's the same shit. It's all it is. Fucking Hillary. If anybody works for fucking Vladimir Putin, it's Hillary Clinton. By virtue of the fact that whoever she accuses you of being a stooge for, that's who she's a stooge for. Not that I think that Vladimir Putin would have anything to do with that rat fuck cunt at this point. It's like she's irrelevant to him. Because, he's the new king in the Middle East, according to Pat Buchanan. Not that article was particularly good on Pat's part. And I will have an article on that out in the morning. I got derailed this afternoon and never quite got it finished. Well, because Tulsi Gabbard just fucking blew open the entire American political system. Q isn't what we call controlled opposition, Freedom Fox. Q is a psyop. I've called that shit ages ago, and I think it's CIA. I think it's been CIA. I don't think it was CIA in the beginning. I think it's CIA now. Okay? Q has become a standalone complex. Okay? It's like 50 or 60 people claiming to be freaking Q. None of them are actually Q. Because Q never actually existed in the first place. Rewatching season 1 of SAC, and it's so goddamn obvious what's happening in every facet of our political life at this point. So, unbelievable what Gabbard just did. Absolutely unbelievable. Makes me want to do two things. One, give her more money. Two, actually go through with registering Democrats so that I can vote for her in the fucking closed primary here. But I'll do it. Mark Shear says, Tulsi should name either Jesse Ventura or Joe Rogan as VP. I firmly believe they could win. Joe Rogan over Jesse Ventura. So here's the bizarro. Actually, not Mark Shear. I'll give you the even more. I think that's a perfectly reasonable course of action on her part. But here's the better one. In the bizarro twist of all, wouldn't this be the great? Okay, I'm going to give you the greatest scenario in which Hillary Clinton becomes the ultimate loser, third-time loser in American political history. Like, she will go down as the biggest laughingstock, bigger than William Jennings Bryan, in American political history. So they get Trump impeached. They get him convicted in the Senate because the Senate's all freaking dirty in Ukraine, and they're all going to get rid of him to make sure that they don't get freaking outed as a bunch of fucking traitors. And so they do so, and they convict him for Joe Biden's crimes, for Hillary's crimes and everybody else, and they get rid of him. And Hillary then sweeps in and thinks she's going to run against Mike Pence, who will do the typical Republican thing of, I will be the guy who will be happy to lose to Hillary Clinton, right? There won't be any Obama on the board to like sweep it out from underneath her. It's all done. And then Gabbard has been sidelined, and she has to run independent. And Trump's been deposed. We can see what I'm going with. I'm like, if I were Trump and I were Gabbard, I'd be like, hey, why don't we form a ticket? And then they win. Because Trump would take 300 electoral votes, buying his way onto the ballot in 48 of the states in this country, in a heartbeat because he could, because he's got the money for it. Runs with Gabbard as his friggin' running mate while on a platform of we're bringing the entire empire home and putting Hillary in jail. Dude, that would be the greatest fucking thing that could ever happen to this country. They convict Trump of nothing. The people are outraged over it. They steal the nomination. They hand the nomination to Hillary. Gabbard and Trump turn around and run for president as independents and win. It would be fucking, it would be LGBT. That would be the most hilarious fucking thing of all time. I'd vote for Trump again. And you have to understand how unbelievably funny that would be. Then there would be 2 Putin puppets in the White House. It would be hysterical. It would be awesome. Thorium says, I firmly believe the first meeting between Tulsi and Putin would be in Crimea. If she actually got elected president. I gotta agree with you. That would be, let's just do this shit in Crimea. And when we're done in Crimea, let's then go visit Assad in Damascus. Together, we'll take the same plane. While they chat on the plane without Secret Service or anybody else. That would be fucking amazing. CNN would implode. CNN's already imploding. CNN's not going to survive James O'Keefe, for Christ's sake. Like, yeah, they shouldn't. Actually, it shouldn't be the Populist Party, Mark Scheer. Mark Scheer said earlier, if Tulsi runs third party, she should call it the U.S. Populist Party. No. They should call it the U.S. Putin Puppet Party. The U.S. PPP. It'd be awesome. It'd be great. To get Rand Paul and everybody else. It'd be fucking amazing. Jonathan Gillespie says, that scenario sounds so freaking awesome. It'd almost be worth it for Trump to be impeached and removed from office. I know! How fucking awesome is that? And where else are you going to hear that on YouTube? The US PPP. Right, only to be reelected on its independent ticket with Tulsi Gabbard. It would be fantastic. Come on, guys. Work with me here. This shit's for real. Holy Christ, we're at 141 people. We're never at this number. This is great. I hope, for those of you who are new, we do hardcore geopolitics normally every night, or whenever we do this. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I am not a Democrat. I am a hardcore anarcho-libertarian. Just to remind everybody, I'm a hardcore anarcho-libertarian who looks at the world through that lens and gives you the real shit and gives you the real dope on what's actually happening. No bullshit, no virtue signaling, no nothing. And if you don't like it, you know where the door is. You know how to click off. And I'm okay with that. Never been happier. 145 and rising. So the guy laughing about all this at this point is Putin himself. Because Putin's looking at this going, American politics is going to be fun. This is going to be great. Meanwhile, he and Trump, through proxies, have already worked out the peace plan in the Middle East. Because Trump has realized that his original plan given to him by Jared Kushner and Bibi Netanyahu, was all that was going to do was get him impeached. So now, or thrown out of office. And now, Putin is going to run the table and actually erect the structures that need to be erected to get everybody to back the fuck off and sue for peace. It's already happening. It's happening in front of you. He'll keep a leash on Erdogan. He's got the Saudis and the Iranians talking through Imran Khan, the Pakistani prime minister. You've got nothing's going to happen in Israel until somebody decides they can actually form a government, which by the way, I don't think is going to happen unless Netanyahu steps aside as the leader of the Likud party, and then is promptly carted off to fucking jail for being a corrupt asshole, but really he's a war criminal. The Syrian Arab Army is already taking over major positions in the area that the Turks were planning to invade. Okay? And Erdogan himself came out and said, look, I'm okay with the Syrian army taking this over and the Russians taking these areas over. Okay? I just don't want the Kurds on my border. So if no one is going to take those positions up, I'm going to do it because I'm not going to have I'm not going to have an open border between heavily armed Syrian Kurds and Turkish Kurds armed with 300,000 or 30,000 truckloads worth of U.S. weapons to come into my country and destabilize it. We're not doing that. And Erdogan's absolutely within his rights as a world leader and as a leader of his country to do that, regardless of what you may think of him, regardless of the fact that he's a vicious Turk or any of that other shit. That doesn't matter. I would want my president to do that, period. So, Gabbard wrapping herself. Let's go back to the point about Gabbard wrapping herself in the mantle of the front runner, because I think this is an incredibly important point. She wouldn't do that if it didn't have a grain of truth. She wouldn't do that if she wasn't attacked mercilessly from on high. When you attack down in politics, it's because you're fearful of the guy below you coming up, and you're an asshole. I just described Rudy Giuliani in 2008. Melinda Ann Burns says facts over feelings and personalities. Absolutely. Facts on the ground. You'll get facts here. You will not get feelings. Well, you'll get feelings too. I'm a volatile Italian, but Kurds, yeah, don't worry about the Kurds. The Kurds are fine. Because most of those guys that they're calling the Kurds are actually Chechens and Uyghurs and all sorts of other fucking vicious fucking scum sitting around in mercenaries sitting around in SDF uniforms, but they're not Kurds. Go look at half of these guys. They're not Kurds, for fuck's sake. And the Kurds are being ousted from lands that aren't traditionally theirs. They're Assyrian lands, they're Arab lands, they're Armenians. That whole area is populated by people who are not Kurds. SD Taylor says, Tom, I think the Ron Paul taking down Newt Gingrich clip is better than Giuliani. It may be a better clip in terms of Ron's performance, but it's not in terms of the political fallout from it. That moment was the end of Rudy Giuliani's political career. At that moment in time, he was the front runner, and he attacked down. He attacked the most marginal person at the table, as opposed to just letting it go. He lost everything. Fox News tried to spin it. Dude, I was there. The moment I watched it the next morning, as I was watching the stuff on YouTube the next morning, I emailed Lou Rockwell at LouRockwell.com, the Mises Institute. I said, Lou, who as big a political animal as I am, I said, Lou, did you understand the significance of what Ron did last night? Giuliani attacked down. They never attack down unless they're worried. Ron is going to see a massive, massive influx of support into his campaign. Tell him to get ready for it. The money's going to flow in. He's going to need the right staff, all of it. I told Lou this literally within 10 hours of that event happening. Ron wasn't prepared for it. He never was prepared for it. He wasn't really even prepared in 2012. I wish he was, because if he was, he might have been able to stop the RNC from stealing the nomination from him. Okay, so Gabbard is mentioning libertarians in almost every public appearance now, says Freedom Fox. She knows libertarians can keep her going, especially in Iowa and New Hampshire. You're absolutely right. So she's not stupid. She knows what she's doing. She's going after the DNC. So if Tulsi throws a shoe at Hillary, I hope it has steel heels, really sharp ones. Me too. But it's remember that scene in Iraq where the Iraqi guy threw a shoe at George W. Bush. Speaking of George W. Bush, he comes out for the first time in what, 10 fucking years to make a statement about isolationism. I mean, how irrelevant is this fucking guy that he would even do that? I mean, here's the latest thing on Zero Hedge right now. Where was it? Peace expert George W. Bush says isolationism is dangerous to peace. Like George, and they're trotting him out because they're making him come out. George W. Bush wants nothing to do with any of this. The great Brett Harris, reckless abandon in the House, says, I would like Gabbard to call out Browder's bullshit. We're not there yet, Brett. Just keep doing what you're doing. What you and Lee and Lucy Commissar and Alex Craner and others are doing, what you guys are doing is incredible fucking work. Continue to beat that horse until it's so dead that we can start a new universe with it. I mean, seriously, dude, you're doing great work. Continue to do that. It will make it out into the public consciousness over time. It will get in front of the right people as long as you continue to do what you're doing. But the time is not right for it right now. It's going to happen at some point. You can see it coming from Trump. Just wait. But he's got other fish to fry first. It's an order. The order of operations is important here because you only get one shot at killing the king. And John Bolton just took his shot at killing Trump, and I don't think it's going to stick. John Bolton's going to wind up in irons if Trump is not convicted. Okay? I know he attacked Tulsi about Assad. I understand that. I agree. And I think she should go after him at some point, and maybe she will. But right now, she's going after Hillary, and that's the right thing to do. Going after Bill Browder at this point, that could get her killed, frankly. I mean, going after Hillary will get her killed too, but, let's see what happens. You just keep doing what you're doing. If you guys do, if people in the stream tonight do not follow Brett Harris on Twitter, somebody put Brett's Twitter handle in the comments. If you don't follow Brett Harris on Twitter, you're really harming yourself. You need to understand Bill Browder, and you need to understand how deep the rabbit hole goes back to Khodorkovsky and Edmund Safra and the Bank of New York and all of it. You need to understand it. It's the biggest story in American politics, or international politics, honestly, that no one wants to talk about, except for Vladimir Putin. There you go. It's right there. So, Joe Lawrence, if you don't know who Bill Browder is, you got a lot of work to do, dude. I don't mean that to be dismissive or condescending or anything. Seriously, a lot of work to do. Bill Browder is incredibly important to understanding why the U.S. deep state operates the way it does, why the news cycle operates the way it does, why we are so gaslit with fucking bullshit. And it all goes right through Bill Browder. You have to understand it. Okay? Badass Frank Henry says, if I had to vote Democrat, I'd be for Tulsi. At this point, if Trump is impeached, you think I'm going to write in, I would just write in Tulsi Gabbard. Not because I love the fact that she's a progressive, but I think she's a pragmatist more than she's a progressive ideologue. So, there you go. Trump has cut off the Democrats' money supply. The money laundering pipelines are being choked off, says Stoyanovich. You're absolutely right. And you'll notice that Trump is out raising them by leaps and bounds. So he's raising so much money from them, he's told Sheldon Adelson to go fuck himself. And Adelson then turned around and had an article planted in the Times of Israel shitting on Netanyahu. So guess what, guys? All that's broken apart, because the thing about Trump is this. Trump has no moral center. He has no moral courage. But he knows how to play leverage better than anybody alive. I think. Very good at it. Again, Joe Lawrence, do your own work. I'm not going to tell you who he works for. The Rothschilds are irrelevant compared to what we're talking about here. Okay? So, just start the process. It'll take you about a month to get up to speed. You can start with Martin Armstrong and the Forecaster. You can go watch the Magnitsky Files movie. You can follow Brett Harris, follow Lee Stranahan, follow all these guys. Yeah, we probably, Crispy Bacon says, Tom, we probably need an episode dedicated to Browder. The problem is, for me, I would actually have to get up to snuff, and I'm not the guy to do that anymore. I mean, honestly, I'm not. I don't have time for it, to be honest with you. It's so much work. Really, you need to sit down, and I need to just sit down and do a two-shot with Lee Stranahan one of these nights, and I'll let him do it. So, if you guys understood how tight my schedule was at this point, you'd understand that I follow the Browder story like kind of obliquely at this point, because there's so much information that if I actually delved into it, I'd lose 2 days, and I don't have 2 days. You got to do a Browder search. Start with Stranahan and Lucy Commissar. Read Alex Craner's book, The Grand Deception. And then just go from there. And you'll fall down a rabbit hole so freaking deep, you'll lose a month. I did. So. No, I mean, it's guys, I'm not trying to beg off here. I know enough about it to know I'm not scared of it. I can see Browder's hands everywhere, but I can't get down into the details in order to give you an hour's worth of material on it. It would take me all week to put it together. And maybe it's necessary that I actually do that again to get myself up to speed. I'll think about it. But at this point, there's so much other stuff going on, and I have so many other areas of comparative advantage. Guys like Brett Harris and Lee Stranahan and others, they have the comparative advantage on Browder. They can call this stuff up at a moment's notice, and they can give you the information you need. Whereas I am going to have to work really hard at it, and I'm going to get half of it wrong. And it's too important a story for me to fuck it up. Let's put it that way. Okay? It's too important a story for me to fuck up. So I'd rather not fuck it up and hand it off to the people who have been diligently doing the work. And the work is so, so, so good. All right. Yes, Craner's book is an easy read. It's very informative. I did an interview with Alex. It's on my YouTube channel. We talked about it back then. That was a year and a half ago. It's a good interview. Alex is a great guy. His book is really good. Yeah, Thordoom says Browder is probably the best thing to get red-pilled on about how corrupt the US and the UK are. Yep. All right. On this story, Badass, I appreciate that. So Badass Frank Henry says I'm too modest and I have very good insights. I do. On Bill Browder, at this point, I feel like an amateur. And the real pros are in the audience. So let's just leave it at that. All right. I think I've probably beaten the Gabbard horse to death for this evening. So we can move on to 170 people. I think we hit 175 a couple minutes ago. We're going to talk about Brexit real quick. I got about 15 minutes left. Oh, and by the way, if my guildies are in the house, I would like to run something in World of Warcraft after we're done tonight. So if you guys are in the house, let's hook up on Discord. By the way, I do have a Discord server for guys you guys want to get a hold of me or talk to me during the week or whatever. You want to like throw information at my way. I've got a Discord server. I'll throw the link in the chat. Actually, I should do that now. So if you find stuff that you think I'd be interested in, go ahead and sign up on my Discord server. Let me get that real quick before we get into the whole Brexit thing. Pop that up. Go over here and let's invite people. Where's the invite link? Come on, invite people. Hey, yeah. Invite people. There it is. Copy. Boom. There. So, all right, let's get started. So yeah, there's a couple of channels in there. You guys can happily throw stuff my way if you want to get a hold of me at any point.